Hello and welcome to what is Extreme Gameplays, where I play games stylishly, but not today. Today I wanted to talk about a subject that's been in my mind ever since I played God of War Ascension on the channel a couple of months ago, and that subject is sceneries in the Greek God of War games.
Look at this. How did people hate fixed cameras? I'm talking about the people who criticized God of War, the old God of Wars after the God of War 2018 drop. It just allows the developers to give you these... Look at this! Look at this!
Now yes, while you had awesome sceneries in God of War 4 and how awesome they looked, I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here today to talk about these zoom outs that show scale and other things that I will be listing in a minute. Now, I know you see the beautiful sceneries on the screen right now switching from one to another, from a game to another game. Well, I decided today to go in depth and to explore these sceneries, what they show, what they represent, what they tell, what they lead to. They're essentially put off to the side where you do see them when you play, but you're really more focused on going forward, so you just glance over them for a second and then boom, what's next? Who's next? Who am I fighting next? Well, not here. Not on Extreme Gameplays, where I'm gonna go in depth talking about them. Sceneries in these God of War games go into a wide range of what they mean and represent. The first thing is art showcase. Some are there to show art, not just beautiful graphics. It's kind of more about the placement of everything and the angle of the camera, then adding graphics to them and all that bright stuff. They show and tell the player more than just a mere, look at our beautiful scenery. While it's true some are there just for looks, but not all of them. Number two is they also give you a pretty good idea about the mood and atmosphere of this place. As a very good example, we have this fight against the Colossus of Rhodes in God of War 2 that I will go in depth about later, but for now, just look at the background. Gives you a true idea of the war that is waging upon this city. I will dive a little deeper later on the video, don't worry. Third thing is that the scenery is telling you what to expect. You're in Hades. This is the last straw. You've been to hell for like 10 times now. It's only one of you that will survive, either you or Hades. You're in Sparta. You're in this place and that place. Again, I'm gonna dive deeper later on in the video. For now, get an idea on what a scenery represents. The fourth one, you have scale. You're absorbed in this setting. The caverns from God of War 3 is a pretty good example of showing you how small you are compared to this world. Showcase of scale usually happens while in combat. Again, gonna dive deeper into this later on. The fifth thing is a sense of progression. Now this one is awesome. You stare at a place from afar thinking, wow, look at how far that place is. And then just to make it there, and yeah, basically that. And now the sixth and last thing they tell, and this is my favorite, your objective. Now this ranges from two types of objectives, your current objective and your main objective. Main objectives are usually manifested near the second half of the game, except for one case, and that one case being the Spire from God of War 2. Yeah, it's kinda shown an hour and a half into the game. Now I'm gonna dive in depth about both of these objective types, but now just for the sake of the conversation. An example for your current objective is the Chain of Balance from God of War 3. It's shown here, here, and you finally reach it. This is just one example of many. And an example for our main objective is the Spire, the Temple of the Fates from God of War 2, being shown basically throughout the entirety of the journey until you finally reach it. Crazy, right? That's gonna be the main event of the video, so stick around till then. And that was it for the 6 things they represent. Now let me start by going through all of the sceneries that really caught my eyes. Now I should let you know that I'm not ranking these. These are in no particular order except for the last one, the Spire from God of War 2. That is the only one that I can say I put on top of every other scenery, and by the way, it's the only scenery shown nearly throughout the entirety of the game. There's not a single scenery in this video that can rival it. Now without further ado, grab some popcorn because this was only the start. This video is long and I hope you guys enjoy it. It's more of a calm and serious type of video for today. Let's start the analysis on all these sceneries. Okay, so I wanted to start the video off with the God of War 3 Hades. So Kratos falls from the Titan Gaia after she betrays him. Kratos falls to the river Styx and somehow survives. The warrior makes his way out of the water, and here as we're walking, the camera pans out showing us a complete view of Hades. This zoom out sets the mood of the place, what to expect, where to go. our current objective. You see all the mortals falling and dying in the background, screaming as they just died 5 minutes ago from the Poseidon disaster. We see Hades' palace, we see the scale and size of this place, we see literal hell where people are falling just with the single shot. It's a zoom out like this that tells you what you're up against. You see this and you instantly go, that's it. Only one of the two survives. This is the last straw. But it's not just this one scenery about Hades that I love. We proceed further and what we see here is a wide shot of the three judges, again adding further to the scale of this place. Fast forward even more and we get a glimpse of the pits of Tartarus, as if all the other zoom outs that happened in Hades weren't enough to tell us how screwed anyone is who gets here. Pits of Tartarus, before we are even being introduced to it. Just laying there in the background. You never even stop to admire it because you're focusing on proceeding. Well, I stopped and was glad I did. Because art is really hidden in hindsight, I guess. You proceed even further and this time it's all in your face. The pit of Tartarus. The landscape of the war between the gods and the titans. Now as a side note, remember when I said in one of the 6 elements the sceneries represent that? Sometimes you never know if you're gonna make it to a place you see. Like you never thought you would go ahead and fight Kronos in the pits of Tartarus. Well, you did. Anyways, back to this one that shows it to you completely. You see it in its full glory. You can also read about the place and all, but let's leave the reading aside. The camera does its best showing you the pit every now and then in this hall. Anyways, fast forward, you make it to Hades' palace, solve the puzzle, and here you are fighting Hades. You snatch his claws from him and pause. Yes, even in this very intense moment where you just got the claws, you can see the throne of Hades in the background. They just added it there. You're more focused on the fight. I focus on the scenery here, and yeah, that's his throne, and you're about to kill whoever sits on that throne. Now the souls are free and roaming ever so freely after Hades' death, and that's shown even more by the time you make your way to Kronos. After Hephaestus opens the door to Tartarus, the game still shows the havoc caused by the ghost of Sparta, as you can still see all the souls let loose. Even after an encounter there, the game still shows you what you just did. Kratos the supervillain. Anyways, you proceed further and you open the gate and here you are. Remember the game showing you glimpses of the pits of Tartarus? Well, here it is, full frame. Oh, and you're going towards that place. And oh, you're gonna fight a skyscraper-sized titan. And guess what? Kill him too. Kratos the mad villain. Moving on to our next scenery, and it's going to be the Colossus boss fight from God of War 2. Yes, all the phases. Okay, so in phase 1, just after you jump from the balcony, I'm gonna need you guys to focus on the background. What do you guys see? War, destruction, fire, wreckage. And the game captures that without crazy graphics. All the fire in the sky, all the fire on the ground from a distance. You get the sense of the place and the feel of the place you're fighting in. Then after you stab his eye, you proceed further to face him off again, and again we see the complete capsulation of war in the background. Only even more of it, more fire, more destruction. Then after beating him again, we go even further and talk to Zeus, and after we talk to Zeus, we get this camera angle that follows us until we reach the point it's pointing to. This is the place it's pointing to, by the way. I really love how starting from this place all until we reach the balcony where we have to cross the balcony is all just one continuous shot. And even other than it showing you the place you need to go, it shows even further by showing you the blade of Olympus from the distance. The arena you fight the Colossus of Rhodes in for the last time. And when you finally make it there for the last phase, again, war in the distance. All of this without super sharp backgrounds and JPEGs. you can capture a good scenery without good graphics. That was it for the Colossus section. I just want to say, if you made it this far, please consider subscribing. I make God of War content, challenges, stylish combos, guides, discussions, and retrospectives hopefully soon, and these videos take long to make, especially the one you're seeing right now. You can't fathom the amount of writer's block that I got from this script. So please consider subscribing if you want more content, and let's move on to our next scenery. The next scenery I want to discuss is a very complex one. It not only shows skill and a small objective, it's also foretelling where you're gonna be at in the next 5 minutes. And it is the Hermes chase section. And trust me, you guys are gonna love this one. This one is very different from the other two that I mentioned beforehand. Zoom outs occur in specific spots that show your objective, but briefly where you never notice them. Okay, so in the part of the chase where you and Hermes both get on this small platform, and then to this platform where you can pull a lever that sends Hermes flying to the other side. In this part, you're mainly focused on Hermes and what he's saying and where to go and stuff, but if you stop for a second, you see this statue of Athena. Now this is all gonna be very important in a second. Okay, so then you grapple onto the grapple point to chase after Hermes, but pause again and you can see this slingshot type of mechanism. This is gonna be important again, just watch for now. Okay, so we have a statue of Athena and a slingshot. Anyways, you chase him for a further distance, and right here on this bridge, Hermes makes his way across on this rope and pause again. That's where we were when we first saw the lead up to this place we're in right now. This instantly gives you the feel of how fast everything Kratos does is. We were there a mere minute ago and now we're here, and in about 2 seconds, we're on top of the statue of Athena. To put it shortly, the game teased the end of that chase sequence obscurely, without you even noticing. You only notice it if you stop for a second to observe the scenery, and that's what I did. Now for our next scenery, we have the biggest one in scale so far, and for the rest of the sceneries. The statue of Apollo, God of War Ascension. For starters, this is a statue that you rebuild completely using the amulet of Ouroboros. At first you have Delos landing, the foot of Apollo. You proceed further and you get this shot that shows you the hand of Apollo in the distance. This statue is really shattered from all angles. Then you go even more to reach an encounter against a juggernaut, and you can see Apollo's lantern from a very far distance. You proceed even more and just now you're actually in his feet. Where another shot shows the other foot of Apollo from a distance. See how small Kratos is compared to this enormous statue, and it's nowhere near the end of the showcase of this statue. You run a little more and get to this moving gondola that has an encounter on it. In the midst of that encounter, the game shows us Apollo's head and his lantern, again from a far distance. Did you forget about the foot shot with the bent knee? Because the game haven't. You can see a glimpse of the foot again here on this shot, and you proceed further to beat an encounter followed by a wide shot and zoom out that shows this whole place you just stepped in. It's like the game is reminding you, you saw this foot from a distance, now here you are all up in its toes. And also, here's another magnificent shot I'm sure everyone is gonna love. You get close to all the destroyed parts of this statue. All of them when they are destroyed, of course, except for one. The lantern. It's been teased throughout, just like the other parts of this statue, but no. You don't reach that one. You fight the two sisters, Megara and Tisiphone. And just when Kratos was about to finish Tisiphone, Alecto is shown in the distance dragging the lantern down to the deep sea. She drags the lantern down so that you don't reach it. Now you think the statue viewing is coming to an end this fast? Mistaken. After the boss fight with the Furies, the game still shows you even more of the statue, all consecutively. A scenery after another, one part of the statue after another. It starts by Kratos coming out of the ribs of Apollo, and honestly, all I can say is just watch. Let the scenery speak to you in silence. have a feeling of how out of this world everything is in this section. Here is a shot of the complete statue built by the architect Archimedes. This is only a concept you find in the furnace. Anyways, you proceed further in the furnace to finally fix the ribs part of the statue, and by doing that you bring back the lantern from under the water as well. Truly magnificent. But we're still not done. We still need to put back the head of Apollo. And after fixing the head and getting it to light the lantern through its eyes, we get a complete shot of where we are, and you cannot simply describe where Kratos is at this point. The height, the scale, the size. It almost feels like Kratos is out of this world. Almost feels like space for him. Our next scenery is one of the few cases where we visit a place that we never thought we would ever visit. The chain that ties the Chamber of the Flame with the Labyrinth, the Chain of Balance. God of War 3. So you're in the early game and you just killed one of the horses backing up Poseidon. You climb this wall and beat some enemies here and there. You climb this rock to see a chain in the distance. You never think that deep into this chain. Is just put off in the background with two eagle statues, one on the right, one on the left. You can even read about it as the Chain of Balance, but even without reading, you can just see it from a far distance. You go about your day and you continue on to the top of the mountain, but later on when you visit the caverns and beat all the enemies and confront Hermes, he mocks you and climbs up this chain. Kratos follows, and what the game shows us is this scenery. After all this time that you played, going through Hades, coming out, going through the city of Olympia, killing Helios, flying near the Chain of Balance, reaching the Labyrinth, confronting Hermes, climbing up a chain, to then the scenery changed to this. The game ties everything back together in such style. It's only when you get to this point where you realize, damn, I've been here before, but no, you were staring at this faraway chain. Now you're climbing it. It even becomes more important later on when you climb the chain for the last time to raise the labyrinth, as in, you were staring at the end game from the start game. Our next scenery is going to be the Steeds of Time, God of War 2. The Steeds of Time get hinted a lot the moment we step foot on the Temple of Lachesis. First, after the first encounter and after we climb up here, we see the horses' steeds from a distance, all four of them. Then later on we climb even further to see them in the distance again. This is again one of the instances where you're not sure if you're gonna visit this place. But you go a little further and you find yourself here. You're going towards the Steeds now, on this big chain. And when you're going halfway there, the camera faces Kratos, showing us the amazingness that is behind Kratos, while also teasing the Spire that I will get to near the end of this video. And here you are, stepping foot on the Steeds of Time. You use the Steeds to pull the temple and to link it up with the Temple of Lachesis. Then you leave the Steeds and that's it. You thought the game showed enough? Because you're wrong if you thought that. Because later on when you go inside the cave that's in Destiny's Atrium, you see them again in the distance. You were there, you did stuff there. Then later on again when we visit the Hall of Atropos, we see the giant chain that is attached to the temple. And in the distance, you guessed it, the Steeds of Time. But hold on, wait, you're still not done. On your way to Perseus, the game still shows the Steeds. The Steeds of Time are not to be taken lightly. They were Kronos' gift to the Sisters of Fate. They bring together two temples. They pull one. You thought you could visit them and get out like it's nothing? Our next scenery is the Chain of Balance, again, but this time from a different perspective. This one is a short one, but still needs some light on it. This, again, is one of the types of sceneries where you don't even notice is being played. Starts off here after you beat the first encounter when you exit out of Hades. You ride a harpy and get down from it, and there is the chain. From the distance. See, I only found it because I chose to stop and to search. This got teased this far away. Anyways, you go and do some chores and fight monsters here and there to kill Helios and to go through darkness to finally get to it. The Chain of Balance. But it's still far though. You go through some more enemies to get to it and here you are. You go up to it and you start the flight sequence. And this blends so good with what scenery I'm about to talk about next. The Labyrinth from God of War 3 was all constructed by Daedalus, a mortal. And the game does a very good job showing us how insane and big literally everything is. The moment we're done with the flight sequence around the Chain of Balance, we're introduced to the Labyrinth. We shoot this one arrow and we go through some encounters with the camera shifting from one place to another, one camera to another, showing us the scale and the art of the architecture we're stepping foot on. How we need to bring it all together and fix it. Everything is moving all the time, and yes, that's Pandora briefly shown in her cage down there. And there we are in the far distance. This is all happening in game, by the way. This is not a cutscene. And it's still not over. Yes, we visit this place later. Yes, that's Kratos. And yes, that's Hermes. And that's still Pandora down there. It's never over. This whole place connects back to each other and everything works together to bring us the Labyrinth. And the game does all that fine job showing us how big this space is, how it all functions, how it all looks and feels, how far it goes, and most importantly, the importance of this place. Kratos goes around to then find out that the key to the Labyrinth is the Unfallen Stone that you acquire from Scorpius by killing him. You use the key throughout the labyrinth to then bring it all closed and together to form a cube, some sort of Rubik's Cube. And you finally raise the entire place by going up the chain that leads to the Chamber of the Flame and raising it from there. Kratos the supervillain. Sorry if I couldn't put enough words to describe the art that is the Labyrinth. I tried my best back there, so let's move on to our next scenery. Our next scenery is before the last one, so it's basically this scenery, then the last one, then going through the leftovers. Awesome leftovers, mind you. And then we're done. If you made it this far into the video, subscribing would be amazing. Let's proceed. Our next scenery is from God of War 3 again, and it's when we fight Zeus at the end game. You know, the 2D fight. Before this fight begins, Zeus throws Pandora off to the side and she lands on this rock. And she's knocked out cold. And that's where Kratos and Zeus go at it and fight. This whole fight is in 2D. And the background, the whole scenery is just magnificent. You're so focused on the fight, you don't even pay attention to what's happening in the background. the destruction that's going on. After some time passes, Pandora stands up and looks around for a way to get to Pandora's box. Now while all of this is going on, you get to the first QTE that pops on top of Zeus, and after all the hitting and smashing that happens in it, the chamber collapses even further and we see all these rocks falling and this chain drops, and we can see Pandora trying to find a way to get across. She slowly is getting to the chain, but we're focused on the fight, and who can blame the player? We were waiting to beat Zeus up this entire game. How can we focus on anything else, really? Then she finally makes it onto the chain and she stops there because there's a roadblock at the point, but right then is where our finishing QuickTime event occurs with Zeus, and where Kratos is beating Zeus up. Then Kratos destroys the wall with Zeus's head, and we see this scene. Now the beautiful thing is, if we were paying attention to the awesome scenery behind the fight that showed us what Pandora was up to, we would have all had our aha moment, but no. We were focused on our exhilarating fight with the King of the Gods. And that's the beauty of the art, being hidden and being subliminal, until you stop for a moment to look at it and find it. Again, I tried my best to put my best words into that scenery that I just talked about. I tried my best back there. But now I have to try harder to talk about this last scenery. My favorite, the best objectively for it being shown throughout the entire time of Kratos' goal after Zeus kills him. The Spire, God of War 2. Let's go. Okay, so the first time we really get a glimpse, a very small glimpse of the Spire, is from a cutscene that occurs after we get on the back of Pegasus, right after we free him. It's briefly shown in the background, and yup, this is where it all starts. Then it's shown again the whole time you ride Pegasus. The game already telling you this is your objective, but they never let you know yet. You reach the Temple of Lachesis and fight through some enemies, and you climb up here to fight these dogs, and you can see the steeds while picking this corpse up. But then when you go to the elevator on the left, the game shows it to you full picture. Even when you go down the elevator, it's shown again. Then you proceed to kick this door, and there it is, the Spire. Gaia first tells you must find a way across the island.
You must find a way across to the island, Kratos, for there lies your path to the Sisters of Fate.
She still does not tell you about your main goal, which is that big phoenix statue from the distance called the Spire. Anyways, you play the game more and you go about your day. You get across this chain to reach the steeds. You climb, and in the very far distance, our very far objective. Then after combining the two islands, and when you get in the place with the Lachesis statue, and after you knock it down, you go forward and reach Destiny's Atrium. And guess what you see then? The game does all this beautiful stuff reminding you about your goal. All the zoom outs, all the sceneries, all the camera angles that you have to stop for. Art is vague. You have to stop for a minute to store all that in your head, to then finally realize it and make a video about it on YouTube, on your own channel. Anyways, you proceed, and after an encounter you get this zoom out that pretty much sums up the point of zoom outs. You, the player, are focused on going forward, where to go next, who to fight next. But have you ever stopped to look at all this? This big zoom out occurs showing you all this, and far from everything, far from home, the Spire. Still that far. And when the camera gets behind Kratos, we hear Gaia saying this.
Hidden deep within the Spire lie the Sisters. They control the threads of fate. Gain control of your thread, and you will be able to return to the moment when Zeus betrayed you.
Gaia tells you what you're doing, what's ahead, and finally speaks about the Spire and what it has inside. She does not hold any of her words. The Spire has the Sisters of Fate inside. Go get them. You get to them, you change your fate. That's it. We just showed you the Spire. We'll never show it again for the rest of the game. You know your goal, right? Wrong. This scene gets interrupted by Albric. The two of you fight, and after you kill him, you go for a long time not seeing the Spire. You're mostly in a jungle or in buildings fighting Uriel and solving puzzles. The game does a very good job making you kind of forget about your goal and kind of shifts your focus, kind of making you believe that's it. Gaia just spoke about the Spire. That's all you need to know. Now go after it. You get the sense that you'll never see the Spire until you reach it, but that's wrong. The game does all that until you reach the Hall of Atropos. Same kind of statue that Lachesis had in Destiny's Atrium, except a little closer to the Spire. You go through this section and you fight Perseus, a guy who has the same goal, and it is to have an audience with the Sisters of Fate to bring his love back from Hades. This brings in a cool dynamic of the two as they're fighting, telling the player these two have the same goal. And what does the game do? Shows the Spire throughout the entirety of this fight. Brilliance. You thought the game forgot about the Spire this entire time. Here it is being shown in the background of this fighting stage. This is what they're both fighting for. Perseus losing hope and giving up on the goal just to get the title of the Kratos killer. Kratos being the opposite and not losing hope, still going on his path, because hope is what makes us strong. It is why we are here. It's what we fight with when all else is lost. Pandora, God of War 3. Anyways, after you kill Perseus, the game briefly shows you the Phoenix statue. Then when you solve the puzzle and open the gate the same way you did in the Hall of Lachesis, you proceed and you get this zoom out, a kind of a similar zoom out that we got in the Destiny's Atrium. This scenery shows us how far Kratos has gotten, how we kinda see the Spire get bigger and bigger as we go, because in this scenery it's a little bigger than this one. Although it's still pretty far though. But anywho, we're showing progress, right? We even see it minutes later through this gate after we get the Spear of Destiny. We proceed further to get to the crossing of the lowlands. We cross it, go through some encounters, and here we are now staring at the far great chasm. Now what the game does here, again for a second time after they did it with Albric, the game does not show the Spire behind the great chasm. On purpose. They could have easily shown the Spire here like they do later when we're on Atlas' hand, but have some time off that, right? And by the way, this scenery is still 10 out of 10. Did you forget this video was about sceneries in general? I know. It's fine. The Spire really knocks every other zoom out and scenery out of the park. It's fine, happens to the best of sceneries. Anyways, again, we go for a long time at Atlas, not seeing not even a glimpse of the Spire, not a single mention, until we finally get out with the help of Atlas, seeing the Great Chasm again, but this time the Spire is shown behind it, and it's big. You can only see it when jumping. Hotter, Kratos, you're really getting hot. We get in the Great Chasm and it's shown full picture with this scene. Not a zoom out, just a scene. But it tells us we are getting this close to what was our seemingly impossible objective. It's so big now and it looks really close now. Again, you're so close to it you have to jump to see it completely. Or for it to be shown in a scene and not in-game, as it did the whole entirety of this time. Anyways, we're still not done. We go to the auditorium of Lachesis, and there we can see the Spire being shown again. We find out later after sacrificing this translator that the Spire, this statue we thought, opens up, but not completely. Still needs another translator sacrificed. Watch out, Atreus. We go to the auditorium of Atropos to find another translator and to find the statue shown in the distance again. We kill the translator and this time the Spire completely opens up. The wings open up completely and the mouth where the Temple of the Fates lies. Now we see the full picture of the Spire we've been hunting this entire time. Later on we go to a place called the Phoenix Chamber after Lachesis tells us to, and there we free a phoenix by setting it up on fire. Go up to open this door with the Hail of Boreas that we got from the Phoenix Chamber. Blow this horn and now the phoenix is free. The phoenix pushed these two statues off and goes to sit on its nest while the game shows us both the phoenix and the spire. Look at how far Kratos has gotten. We proceed further to fight a shadow. What does the game do? The game has the spire as the background again. A symbol that tells us who we're fighting has the same goal in mind. And that becomes extra clear later on when we find out that who we were fighting was the nameless last Spartan. And he tells us he was trying to do the same here by hunting down the Sisters of Fate to change Sparta's fate. The game already told us about the ambitions of this shadow we were fighting by showing us the spire, making it pretty much the fighting stage if this was a fighting game. So on a repeated walkthrough you get the sense of, hey, the game already tells the player that this guy was seeking the spire. Just like Kratos, just like Perseus, just like Icarus. I forgot mentioning this guy. Then this all gets interrupted by the Kraken. We kill the Kraken and from here we finally have it in front of us. We cross the bridge that we used to kill the Kraken with, and here's the game showing us the spire for one last time in its rare form. And we have our way to get to it. The game could have easily made this into a cutscene where we get on the Phoenix and it takes us right into the heart of the statue. But no, not God of War 2, not Cory Barlog. I hope you're watching this video to know that yes, I appreciate the art you created in these sceneries, and I appreciate how you hit it. All these years of me playing these games, loving them, loving everything about them, making a YouTube channel to play them stylishly, and to finally get here, me making a Sceneries video where this last one knocked all of the other sceneries at the park without crazy graphics and visuals. Thank you, Cory Barlog. We execute the QTE and get on the Phoenix and it takes us to the Spire and we're finally here. We're in the end game. All this time, the game showing us how far we are from our goal, and now we are approaching it. Now you guys know why this is my favorite scenery, zoom out session, and goal in mind in all video games. You guys surely noticed me saying Kratos the supervillain throughout some of the other sceneries, right? It shows you what you just did. Kratos the supervillain leads to the Chamber of the Flame and raising it from there. Kratos the supervillain. Well, not this one. This one is pure determination and dedication from Kratos, seeing our hero trying this hard to reach his goal. I mean, I know he's still trying to change his fate to kill Zeus, basically cheating life and death, but all that mal gets overshadowed by the dedication Kratos had to reach his goal. Not just the dedication, the hope, I would say. One guy telling him he won't ever make it. Some other guy literally having the same goal but goes hollow and dismisses his goal because he thinks it's pointless. I mean, he thought this door was his only escape. A door Kratos opens for breakfast. Kratos could open that door on the sunniest day with the hardest flu covering him. Anyways, that and this other guy telling him it's his fate to make it past the big gap to reach the great chasm. A guy who went insane over all that, and a guy who, like Perseus, lost all hope and is now telling Kratos that he'll never make it, and then to finally reach our single ally left from Sparta. The last Spartan having the same goal. Us killing him still led us to the Spire, our goal. Kratos, the symbol of hope in the Greek mythology. You guys don't have a single idea how hard this was to read and stuff. I don't know. But let's move on. The video still has quite some time left. Now we have a special section for the leftover sceneries that showed scale and atmosphere. They showed the art of the zoom out, and believe me, they're still crazy to look at. I just wanted to talk about them for a short amount of time before this video comes to an end. I also need to remind you that some of them did have depth, but I thought they might fit greatly here at the end to kinda remind the people that this is a video about sceneries and not the Spire from God of War 2. Yeah, I know, the Spire outshined everything here. Anyways, let's get to the leftovers now. First we have Sparta. Look at this scenery and how it absorbs you. Kratos' home shown completely. The entire city of Sparta in one frame, and it's still alive. Even when you get in, everything is alive in there. Then we have our next scenery, and it is the city of Olympia. This city is not that small section we go through to catch Helios. In fact, the moment we step foot on the city of Olympia, the game has this awesome scenery to show us how big the city of Olympia really is. The waterfall and the city behind it. Or maybe you guys correct me if I'm wrong about this, because I did my research and found nothing. The only waterfall I found when I did my research was the Styx. So that means this waterfall connects the world of the living to the dead. But the city behind it, I don't know. I'm just going to assume that it's the city of Olympia for now. For how beautifully detailed everything is in this JPEG image, it kind of struck me as a weird thing that we didn't visit this place. Because these types of beautiful sceneries almost always have something to do with the game, but not this time, I guess. Now I'm gonna be talking about a small section in God of War 1 where it shows Ares. God of War 1 does not have a lot of crazy zoom outs, but when it has one, it slaps. Before everything is revealed, you climb this wall and fight some enemies, but in the background, briefly, you see war in the background, mortals standing and fighting with all the ash surrounding them. Later on, you go up these stairs and through the curtains to find Ares destroy. As he should, because he's the God of War. The game shows how close he is from the player, how he can spot Kratos at any moment and kill him, but not yet. And I love the dynamic of him throwing fireballs to test Kratos, as in, yes Kratos, I did just see you, look at me from afar. And then later on from the small city, all up until you make it to Athens town square, he keeps on throwing fireballs to disrupt and test you. His eyes did not miss Kratos the moment he saw him. The next one is a bunch of sceneries and zoom outs happening to show you what you're walking on, with the Hecatonchires from God of War Ascension. These houses and places you walk on are all built around a living Hecatonchire. All these houses are built around some of the 100 hands that he had, and some other houses around some of the 50 heads he had. And the game does a magnificent job showing you this place coming to life. Our next set of sceneries consists of the village of Kirra from God of War Ascension again. And this one is on the thumbnail, you all saw it before clicking on this video. Truly magnificent for the amazing atmosphere it has and the mood it's in. This was probably the first and last time we ever see a dark blue night in a God of War game. Really gives the sense of it's nighttime and you shouldn't be out here, but you're out here and you're fighting monsters. And I love everything about what it shows. The houses, the buildings, the sky, all of these rocks being shown. Truly a work of art. Sets the vibe for this silent place that isn't silence. A city that never sleeps. Can you believe it? because I can't. We finally made it to the end of this big gigantic video, and I just wanted to say, god damn, everything about this project was hard. Getting the footage for the sceneries, writing the script, recording this script, believe it or not. My videos are usually hype and fast and electric, but not this one. Not when we're talking art. So please don't mistake it as misleading and, hey, watch my videos, I'm the Vati video of God of War. It's just this video. It just needed to be calm. And now back to whining. Yeah, chopping the video down, removing mistakes, then coming back again to put the footage on the script, then rewatching the whole damn thing. I just hope you guys enjoyed it. I know I've said that probably a million times in the video, but please consider subscribing. I make God of War videos. That's all the context you need to know about me. Challenge runs, combos, funny videos and top 5s, retrospectives soon, icebergs, music, and now art. So guess it's been your extreme game player Zesty. Peace.